His bodyguard, they're trying to kill him. Kill his bodyguards. So they blamed it on me because he made a song about me. Even though nobody really heard the song. It whack, you know, being that he made a song about me, I had to be the one doing it. I'm not fucking pissed off at a whack.
D. M. Only X I know's exhibit a RBX. X.
So was you and X issue actually over her?
Totally.
Oh, so X was messing with her when y'all was together?
Totally.
What was it like being around DMX?
DMX was dangerous, man. It's like when you around him, he's like, you don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Very unpredictable.
Hip-hop beefs almost never end clean, and the clash between DMX and Kurupt was no exception at all. Even though their feud didn't get the same spotlight as other famous rap battles, it turned dark fast, real fast. Things spiraled to the point where Kurupt became the target of a violent attack that nearly took his life, with 2 of his bodyguards also caught in the chaos, barely making it out alive. Right after that, rumors exploded everywhere, with people whispering that DMX might have been involved. Given X's wild reputation, those rumors didn't sound far-fetched to many in the industry. Over the years, plenty of insiders have talked about how dangerous and unpredictable DMX could be when pushed.
What was it like being around DMX?
DMX was dangerous, man. It's like when you around him, he's like, you don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Very unpredictable.
DMX moved different, period. He was a true lone wolf who didn't rock with gangs at all, especially not the Crips, the Bloods, or anything they stood for.
Now then you slipping. I'm on some bullshit that's got me jacking niggas flipping. Let my man in them stay pretty.
Kurupt, on the other hand, was openly affiliated and proud of it, and DMX had no problem calling that out loud and clear. Where Kurupt rolled with a whole crew behind him, DMX stood solo, and he made sure his presence was felt in the most serious way possible.
I don't like Eve. Like, I don't like her. It has nothing to do with music. It's something that she did that was very disrespectful.
There's a lot to unpack here, so let's rewind and set the stage. Back in the early 1990s, DMX was already ruling the New York underground, feared and respected for his raw energy and street presence. Meanwhile, Kurupt was just starting to buzz on the West Coast, slowly building his name. In 1992, at just 19 years old, Kurupt and his close partner Daz Dillinger signed with Death Row Records. Together, they formed Thaw Dog Pound, each representing different West Coast neighborhoods tied to their identities. Not long after, that movement grew into the Dog Pound Gangsta Clique, better known as DPGC, pulling in heavy hitters like Snoop Dogg, Nate Dogg, and RBX.
I'm about to find out how much gut you got before I spill it. Somebody come and get this before I kill it.
The crew made a massive splash with appearances on Dr. Dre's legendary The Chronic in 1992. By 1993, they were everywhere, playing a major role in Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style. Kurupt and Daz popped up on multiple tracks and skits, locking in their status as key pieces of Death Row's rise to power. By 1994, Thaw Dog Pound was done playing the background and ready to grab the spotlight for real. They kicked off the rollout for their debut album, Dog Food, with the single, What Would You Do? And the streets ate it up fast. The record went crazy, got heavy rotation, and even landed a Grammy nomination in 1996 for Best Rap Performance by a Duo or Group.
Kurupt. You killed 2 of his bodyguards. They're trying to kill him. Kill his bodyguards. So they blamed it on me because he made a song about me. Even though nobody really heard the song. It whack, you know, being that he made a song about me, I had to be the one doing it. I'm not fucking pissed off at a whack.
When Dog Food officially dropped on October 31st, 1995, it came out swinging hard. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, moving over 270,000 copies in its first week alone, which was massive at the time. That success locked Thaw Dog Pound in as one of the hottest duos in hip-hop. No debate about it.
If I bleed, then it's blood. Who I am is who I be until I die. That's my word.
By 1996, Kurupt's personal life was heating up just as much as his career. He started dating Brooklyn rapper Foxy Brown, and by 1997, the relationship had leveled up to an engagement, putting them front and center in hip-hop headlines. Everything looked solid on the surface, but behind the scenes, tension was quietly building. At the same time on the East Coast, DMX was making serious noise of his own. After signing with Def Jam, he dropped his debut single, Get At Me Dog, in February 1998. The track hit the charts, peaking at number 39. and made it clear that DMX wasn't just hype, he was a real problem. Later that year, DMX released It's Dark and Hell is Hot, and the rap game felt it immediately. The album exploded, turned heads everywhere, and stamped DMX as one of the biggest new stars in hip-hop, straight off the gate. Things started getting messy by mid-1998 when rumors began floating around that DMX and Foxy Brown, who was engaged to Kurupt at the time, were getting too close behind the scenes. According to Foxy, Rough Riders member Eve was the one who told Kurupt that something was going on between her and DMX. That situation cracked friendships fast. Foxy pushed back hard, saying nothing serious ever happened and that DMX just had a crush on her. She accused Eve of blowing things out of proportion and stirring drama that didn't need to exist. The timing couldn't have been worse. Foxy and DMX were both signed to Def Jam and were touring together on the Survival of the Illest tour that summer. Then in December 1998, DMX dropped his second album, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, and one track in particular, Bring Your Whole Crew, had people whispering about subliminal shots aimed straight at Kurupt. On that record, DMX starts talking reckless about being out for blood and even brings up the Crips being at battle, and that wasn't subtle at all. It felt like a clear jab, especially since Kurupt was a known Crip, and everyone listening caught that angle right away. DMX goes further, questioning how much trash someone can talk before they end up laid out, and throws in lines about a fake pit, which instantly set tongues wagging. Fans quickly connected the dots, saying the fake pit line was a slick shot at Kurupt in the dog pound, basically calling him fake and soft compared to the real thing. DMX even raps about choking someone out, which a lot of people took as a warning shot, like he was telling Kurupt to chill before things crossed a serious line. None of this ever got officially stamped as a direct diss, but the timing was loud. By 1999, the tension between DMX and Kurupt wasn't just rap talk anymore. Word reached Kurupt that DMX had been spending time with his fiancée, Foxy Brown, behind his back, and that's when things really started boiling over. Then January 26, 1999 hit, and Foxy dropped her album, China Doll. On it was a track called Dog and a Fox, featuring DMX, and that move spoke volumes. The collaboration made it obvious Foxy and DMX were close, and according to Kurupt, it cut deep. He later claimed the idea for that song was originally supposed to be a duet between him and Foxy, which, if true, made the situation feel like a straight betrayal. Around that same time, Kurupt was deep in work on his second album, Tha Streets Is a Mutha. Instead of ducking the drama, he faced it head on. He recorded a track called Calling Out Names, a diss aimed at multiple rappers including DMX, 50 Cent, and Ja Rule. The song leaked months before the album dropped and instantly caused waves. In the opening verse, Kurupt goes right at DMX, calling him out by name and saying the only X he respects is Exhibit or RBX. He accuses DMX of trying to take Foxy, saying he can have her, and throws insults at both of them while bragging about his own success. Kurupt doesn't stop there, warning DMX that stepping onto the West Coast would come with serious consequences, all over a woman. Kurupt keeps swinging on the second verse, bragging that he's already moved on with a new woman because his old one tweaked. Another sharp jab clearly aimed at Foxy and all the drama tied to her name. Then he switches lanes and turns his attention to the Rough Riders, making it crystal clear he's got no love for anyone in that camp except Eve. That shout out to Eve only fueled Foxy Brown's claim that Eve was the one who told Kurupt about her and DMX in the first place. From there, Kurupt lets it fly even harder, firing off lines like "fuck us Rough Riders," "fuck us the Firm," and "fuck us Belly," leaving no room for confusion. The Firm was the group Foxy was part of under Nas, and Belly was the 1998 film starring DMX and Nas, so those shots were loud and intentional. DMX and Foxy were clearly the main targets, but Nas got dragged into the mess too after he publicly commented on the situation in an interview, even suggesting Foxy should have been with someone from New York. To really twist the knife, Kurupt ends the track mocking DMX's signature line, "Get at me, dog," copying his delivery and clowning him in a sarcastic tone on the original version of the song. He even opens the record throwing subtle shade, making it clear this wasn't just rap bravado, it was personal. Not long after Calling Out Names dropped, things took a dark and real turn. On October 17th, 1999, around 11:40 p.m., Kurupt was at Echo Sound Studios in Los Angeles, working on his album Tha Streets. is a mutha when gunfire erupted. His bodyguard, Dwayne Dupree, was unalived after being hit multiple times in the chest, while two others, Willard Griggers and Jevon Jones, were wounded in the leg and foot. Almost immediately, speculation went wild that DMX might have been connected, especially given the timing and the recent diss record. But DMX's camp shut that down fast, releasing a statement saying, "DMX is in Miami recording his album. DMX is not knowledgeable of this. I just got off the phone with him." Still, with DMX's reputation and explosive image, the rumors didn't die easily. Just a month later, on November 16, 1999, Kurupt dropped "The Streets Is a Mutha," as expected. The album included calling out names with all the shots aimed at DMX, but Kurupt wasn't finished yet. On another track, "Who Ride With Us," he pushed things even further, keeping the tension red hot. At the very end of the song, Kurupt throws in a skit where he flips through fake radio stations, and one of them is straight up wild. It features a parody clearly meant to sound like DMX, with someone mocking his voice and style, turning the whole thing into a public joke aimed right at him. DMX didn't let that slide at all. On December 21st, 1999, he fired back in a massive way by dropping his third album. And then there was X. The project included one of his biggest hits ever, "Party Up, Up in Here," a record most people know as a club smash, but many fans believe it doubled as a direct shot at Kurupt from the very first lines. From the jump, DMX makes his mindset clear. He talks about being pushed to the edge and warns anyone testing him that things can turn ugly fast, taking a swipe at Kurupt's crew and suggesting they could get dealt with quick if they keep playing. Some listeners even felt uneasy about lines mentioning tension, fights, and things clicking, especially given what had recently happened at Echo Sound Studios. The second verse cuts even deeper. DMX calls out certain rappers as fake characters, saying they're not even good at pretending, which many took as a clear dig at Kurupt. He keeps pressing, calling someone twisted and fake, and pulls personal drama into the mix, making it clear this wasn't just music anymore, it was personal. DMX also vents about people fighting over women who don't belong to them, another obvious jab tied directly to the Foxy Brown situation. By the third verse, the tone gets darker, with DMX warning that non-stop talking can lead to serious consequences. Lines like, "You keep running your mouth," hit hard, and fueled speculation that he was sending a message meant to scare someone into backing off. The song exploded worldwide. It was everywhere, clubs, radio, TVs, and streets across the globe. For Kurupt, hearing himself seemingly mocked on a song that massive had to sting badly. It was a power move by DMX, showing that sometimes you don't need endless diss records to win a feud, you just need one unstoppable hit. Even though DMX publicly denied any involvement in the Echo Studios shooting, doubts still floated around. His unpredictable reputation made people question what he was capable of, fair or not. DMX had always lived on the edge, and stories from his past only added to the legend, including a controversial incident from his teenage years that people still bring up when talking about how fearless he really was. That's right, while most teenagers were stressing over homework and curfews, DMX was already deep in trouble with the law, moving way different at a young age. His first run-in happened back in 1986 when he was caught stealing a dog from a junkyard, a desperate move from a teenager just trying to survive the harsh streets of Yonkers. That incident landed him in the juvenile unit at Woodfield Prison in Valhalla, New York, where he spent a few months locked up. But getting released didn't slow anything down. Later that same year, DMX found himself back in serious trouble, this time facing a more severe charge that sent him to a juvenile institution upstate for nearly 2 years. It was at that upstate facility where DMX met another inmate named Bobby, a kid from a completely different world. Bobby came from a more comfortable background, nothing like DMX's rough upbringing, but somehow they clicked fast. Their conversations turned into long talks about freedom, life, and how badly they both wanted out. Before long, those talks turned risky. The two started plotting an escape, and the plan was bold but simple. They figured out a way to slip out through a recreation room window and run through an unfenced part of the facility's grounds. Security was relaxed because the place sat in the middle of nowhere, and staff believed escaping wouldn't even be worth it with no towns nearby. But DMX and Bobby didn't think like that. Desperation outweighed fear, and when the moment came, they made their move and broke out. DMX managed to find his way back home, tasting freedom for a short time, but it didn't last. Once his mother found out what happened, she shut it down immediately. She refused to let him stay on the run and demanded he turn himself in, believing it was the only way he'd learn and survive long term. DMX listened, even if he didn't want to, and turned himself in. He was sent to the McCormick Juvenile Detention Center in Brookdale, New York, where he finished serving his sentence. That chapter closed, but it was clear this wasn't the end of DMX's struggles with the system. It was just the beginning of a long, complicated road. By 1988, DMX was locked up again, this time on a carjacking charge, showing just how fast the cycle kept pulling him back in. His time inside during this stretch wasn't calm at all. His aggressive behavior caused problems, and after an incident involving pressure over substances with another inmate, he was transferred to a higher security facility. He finally got released in the summer of 1988, but freedom didn't mean peace. Almost immediately, he found himself slipping back into the same patterns, crime, trouble, and run-ins with the system that had already shaped so much of his young life. Over the years, DMX would end up going in and out of prison nearly 30 times, a number that speaks volumes about how chaotic his path really was. His rough childhood and the environment he grew up in played a massive role in that outcome. Yonkers wasn't an easy place to come up, especially for a young kid trying to find his footing. The streets of Yonkers were intense, with violence always close and gangs deeply rooted in everyday life. For teens like DMX, danger wasn't something you searched for. It was already right there. Longtime Yonkers police officer Montero later spoke about how vulnerable kids were often targeted, especially those from broken homes or struggling families. According to Montero, gangs would single out kids who looked like they were having a hard time, wearing worn-down clothes or clearly short on money. They'd offer fast cash or fresh clothes as bait, and once the kid accepted, they were locked into a debt they couldn't escape. That debt usually meant being forced into illegal activity just to survive. Montero recalled one moment that stayed with him. He and another officer responded to a brutal beating outside a bodega on South Main Street. When they stopped the attack and asked the victim if he wanted to press charges, he refused, which sadly wasn't shocking at all. Those beatings were often part of initiation rituals. In that case, the victim was being brought into a local gang, and Yonkers had no shortage of them. Around 30 different groups operated in the city at the time, tied to hundreds of crimes, including over 300 reported incidents in a single year. For kids like DMX, growing up surrounded by that level of violence made staying clean nearly impossible. The chaos wasn't theoretical, it was daily life. Fast forward to January 17, 2000, and DMX was standing on a completely different stage, attending the American Music Awards at the iconic Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. During the event, DMX appeared in the press room, calmly answering questions from reporters, a sharp contrast to the troubled kid from Yonkers who once couldn't escape the streets. When someone finally brought up the long-rumored beef between him and Kurupt, DMX didn't take the bait at all. His response caught people off guard. He flat out said there was no issue between them, shutting the question down like it wasn't even worth discussing. That answer raised eyebrows everywhere, especially since Party Up had lines many listeners swore were clear shots at Kurupt, and the tension between them had been buzzing heavy in the industry for a while. So why the sudden downplay? Some people felt DMX was brushing Kurupt off completely, refusing to give him the attention he might have wanted. Others believed it was a calculated move, possibly meant to steer focus away from the lingering rumors connecting DMX to the Echo Studios shooting. Was it damage control, or was DMX genuinely done with the drama? Nobody really knew. His calm response only left more questions hanging in the air, and the silence that followed made things even more mysterious. Kurupt, for his part, stayed relatively quiet during that stretch. Even with Party Up becoming a global smash, blasting in every club and dominating radio playlists, he didn't jump back into the ring with another diss track. Instead, he took a different route. On July 17, 2001, Kurupt released his album Space Boogie, Smoke Odyssey. One track in particular, Just Don't Give a F, touched on the lingering situation. In the song, Kurupt made it clear he was ready to let the beef go and move on from the past, signaling a possible truce. But that wasn't quite the final chapter. A few years later, on August 23, 2005, Kurupt dropped Against the Grain. On the track Speak On It, he subtly stirred old conversations again. He addressed people comparing rappers like 50 Cent, Ja Rule, and DMX to Tupac, shutting that talk down hard and saying there would never be another Pac. Then, in a direct moment, he mentioned DMX by name, reminding listeners the history was still there. After that, the feud slowly faded into the background. Then in 2017, nearly 20 years after it all began, something nobody expected happened. Kurupt and DMX ran into each other at an airport. According to Kurupt, the encounter was respectful and friendly, and the two finally buried the hatchet for good. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Was DMX playing it smart? Or was the beef already ended by then? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who loves hip-hop history. We'll catch you on the next one.